This is Marc Shaiman, and Marc, in addition to being the composer and co-lyricist of Hairspray, has a long history on television and movies and in musical theater. Are the Turnblads Jewish?
I know my inclusion of Shabbat Shalom has made people wonder. I don't think that we have an answer for that question. I did see a fabulous production at the at like the High School for Performing Arts, the LaGuardia. They put it on, and so Scott and I went to see it there, and I was like, why didn't I think of that? During I Can Hear the Bells, when she's imagining her wedding, they had a chuppah.
Oh.
Which they, of course, said, well, because of Shabbat Shalom later. I was like, yeah, okay,
right.
Sure. That shows like all the fun little new things other people think of, whether it's in a high school or other productions. You know, it is fun to watch all the little new ideas people bring to it.
Right. What I like about that line is whenever I've heard it really done well, he says it as if he means hubba hubba, right? Because here he is attracted by this Shabbat Shalom, and it's just perfect for their relationship. Now she does later say that, you know, when she sees a Christmas ham, but I think that maybe. Right. Or nay, not some Jews have Christmas ham, so you know.
I think Wilbur has some some Jew in him.
Some Jew in him,
I guess.
I want to.
That was really, and meanwhile, I have a lot of Jew in me, and I just, you know, when we were writing the song, it was just all these, you know, phrases of exclamation, you know, holy cow, or you know, whoop, and so Shabbat Shalom just came to mind, and I was like, Scott, what about Shabbat Shalom? And he was like, sure.
I want to ask you about Edna. Is that a role that could be played by a woman? Is that a role that could be played by a trans person? Or is it really supposed to be a man in a dress?
That's just our continuation of what John Waters did in the original film. We just thought it would be fun. Mm-hmm. And as we were meeting with various directors when we were first developing the show, there's one guy who just said to us, why? And we were like, well, just because it's fun. And he just couldn't get it. And we were like, well, bye.
Yeah.
But sure, it could be played by a woman, especially now where the ideas of who can or can't play parts. Well, the pendulum has swung so far in the other direction now of being told exactly who can or can't play parts, but it should be a lot more liberating of a choice.
Yeah.
You know, we used to always talk about, could Rosie O'Donnell have been in it? And then maybe like there's this guy, Alex Newell, who sings Motormouth songs unbelievably. He was on Glee, and then he was just on Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, the television show. He's a black guy. He's he goes by he, she, they. He doesn't really seem to care about that. He's just who they is. And he would be phenomenal as Motormouth, and played it in his high school.
How about for Edna? How about James Corden?
You know, of course, you know, at one point just a few years ago, we were thinking that the guys from Modern Family would be great.
Oh, sure.
You know.
Oh, that would be very nice. I like that. So I want to ask you about something else, which is the concept of being a co-writer of lyrics. We're going to look at lyrics real quick, very soon. But what does that mean? Does that mean that you sit in a room and you bang them out, that you write versions back and forth? Paul McCartney and John Lennon, they would just put their names on everything, no matter who wrote what.
It is a literal moment of the expression, finish each other's sentences, where Scott and I just think enough alike, and then also are different enough alike. But, you know, we kind of have the same sensibilities with, right, you know, different strengths. But we do finish each other's sentences. And so we sit together and we think of phrases that we think could be in the song, or describe what the characters are thinking. And I mean, Scott won't even go into the room until he is filled. He gets his large butcher paper, mm-hmm, and he just, you know, writes, you know, and he goes through, you know, every word menu and thesaurus, and then I do the same thing, and then we get together and we play like phrase association.
Are you at the piano when you're at that point?
I think I used to be at the piano more, but now I sit in the chair over there, like on the other side of the room. Not in this room, actually, but I'm pointing metaphorically.
Right?
Um, and I think actually I've been learning that I maybe should be at the piano again, even as we're just writing lyrics, to make sure that the musicality doesn't take a back seat. Not that it really takes a back seat, but the truth is I just enjoy writing lyrics so much.
Yeah.
And then the music just sort of flows out of me. Lyrics is such a craft and I love it. And, finding the right syllables and the right amount of syllables and the perfect rhyme to be, write lyrics in the old school classic style of theater. I just find it a never ending joy to figure it out.
Yeah. So my students love it when I have guests, particularly lyricists. We had Lynn Ahrens. Next week, we have Dick Scanlon from Thoroughly Modern Millie. I just confirmed that Murray Horowitz is going to come and talk to us about Ain't Misbehaving. He says hello, by the way. And so this is something that we've started to do. Lynn Ahrens insists that she's not a poet. She says some lyricists are. Lisa Cron is the example that she gave. But she's not a poet. And I was wondering, are you a poet?
I guess I understand what she means, but they're kissing cousins,
Yeah.
lyricists and poets. So I'll leave it at that. I'm a kissing cousin.
You're a kissing cousin. I think that'll do. All right. So what I'm going to do now, I sent you the homework reel that the students had to watch with some of what I consider to be the funniest lyrics. And I said, pick a few that you have a story about. And you said, no, you pick. So what I did was I picked 4, and these are 4 that I have something to say about, or I think at least I do. So we'll be able to have a conversation about them. I'm going to share the screen. And these are also some that the students chose as their favorite. So.
Good morning, Baltimore. There's the flasher who lives next door. There's the bum on his barroom stool. They wish me luck on my way to school.
When we did Good Morning Baltimore, it wasn't a satire, but Scott said, that was the first thing he said. It was the first day we were working on. He said, it should be like Oklahoma. And he sings, oh, what a beautiful morning. He's describing Oklahoma. And Tracy Turnblad should just feel like Baltimore is just as beautiful as, but instead of the corn as high as the elephant's eye, it's the flasher and the rats on the street dancing on my feet. She has such a positive attitude about everything and anything.
Very nice.
Lancelot had Guinevere, Mrs. Claus as old Saint Nick. Romeo had Juliet, and Liz, well, she has her dick.
I watched a lot of high school productions, and some of the ways that they cleaned up some of the language was really funny, but this was my favorite, where they changed that to Liz, she had her Rick, which completely ruins it. But that must have been fun to
not to mention that's like against the law for them to do that. So I would like you to make me a list of all those productions that changed any words. Yeah, that's not allowed.
Hairspray Junior that has some of those things taken out.
Hairspray Junior, and yeah, if they're doing Hairspray Junior, then they have that ability to do that, slightly more cleaned up version. But yeah, this is just what can I say? It's a dick joke.
You can say I'm a bigot, but it just isn't true. Look, I love Sammy Davis, and he's black and a Jew.
Just once again, it's the truth. Yeah. Sammy Davis Jr. was black and a Jew. I mean, he was famous for converting to Judaism, which just around the time of that Hairspray is taking place. So it just seemed like Velma, it was a great 1-2 shot for Velma to show her, her disdain, even though she's saying the opposite. The only thing that troubled me with that lyric always was that most people still always would refer to Sammy Davis Jr. as Sammy Davis Jr. And we say, look, I love Sammy Davis, but he's black and Jew. There was no way to get Jr. in there. Look, it could have been, I love Sammy Davis Jr. and he's black and a Jew, but that would lose the look. Yeah. I love, so we gave up the Junior. So whenever I hear that, I always have a twinge of, Oh, I wish we could have gotten that junior in there.
This, I think, is the emotional high point of the show. This is the part that just gets me every time.
You can't stop my happiness, 'cause I like the way I am. And you just can't stop my knife and fork when I see a Christmas ham. So if you don't like the way I look, well, I just don't give a damn.
She's really a character who has a dramatic arc, where when you see where she was at the beginning and you see where she is at the end, something happened to Edna Turnblad that that lets her at the end go on national television and feel so comfortable with herself and say, if you don't like it, I don't give a damn.
Yeah. I mean, that's just these wonderful characters that John Waters created, and we were able to make grow even more by putting them in a musical. I mean, the original movie has about 17 minutes of plot, and then like about another hour of just, fun, just, John Waters style fun. So we really had to create more to the story, and Edna's arc is certainly one of those things that are more enriched in the musical than in the original film. And it's a joy to have been able to do that, and it's a joy to get to watch, whether it's Harvey or Michael Ball just now on the West End, or to watch that guy right now in the high school production. The fact that the gay guy and the fat girl get to play the lead roles in their high school, their junior high school musicals, is something we enjoy. That doesn't mean that every guy who plays Edna is gay.
Right.
And hopefully every girl who plays Tracy is the right size.
Right.
And isn't someone in just a skinny girl in a fat suit. And, it's just great that these kids who would often only get to maybe play Bud Frump, or, that they, that this is one of the shows where they really get the lead roles and get to shine. And, we have seen so many fantastic, I mean, sometimes if you watch me on social media, you may think at certain times, my God, does this guy do nothing but go see Hairspray? My God, his ego's out of control, which would be true. But I don't do nothing but see Hairspray. But enough friends have, like, if their son or daughter is in it and I'm in the town that they're in, or like a girl who was in the original production, her kid now did it at her junior high school. So there are these moments where I do go, and it even sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to drive an hour now and then I leave and I'm always like, I'm so glad I went. It's always so moving. I mean, it's always so moving.
More Marc Shaiman in 20 seconds, but first, if you like learning about Broadway, try the Broadway Maven's Musical Theater Appreciation class, which meets every Monday and Thursday at noon and 8 p.m. Sample classes include Fiddler on the Roof, Mel Brooks musicals, and If You Could See Cabaret Through My Eyes. See the upcoming schedule at thebroadwaymaven.com.
I don't think I've ever gone to see it with a junior or high school without bursting into tears, by the end of it.
That's really
Especially
nice.
when I got to see it in my own junior high school and my own high school. They both put on Hairspray. I got to go back to those very auditoriums and see, with the same piano that I'd played on, dreaming of someday writing a musical, my musical being put on with someone playing those very pianos.
Now, when she sings I Know Where I've Been, is she talking about size too, or is she only singing about race?
I think in the show, you could very much say that it's about race. But if you sing the song outside of the show, it's a lovely thing when you do write a song that can apply to whatever someone has been through. I mean, obviously the show, she says the night is black as my skin.
Right.
There's very little left to interpretation there. But yeah, it's about size as well. And it's just about being the other, basically. But of course, in the show, it can't be, I don't want to, pardon the pun, whitewash it to the fact that it can become about anything. It is about civil rights. And my God, when the woman who's in the West End production that's on right now, Marisha Wallace, phenomenal performer, phenomenal singer. And because of all that's happened in the last year and a half, the song has even more resonance than ever before, which is, of course, sad that we're in this situation. But my God, the audience rises to its feet. And it's unbelievable, the reaction it gets. and the irony that it was once, they tried to cut it from the show when we were writing the show.
A different tone than the other songs.
Yeah, that was what our producers would say to us. It's isn't it too serious?
Yeah.
And also, shouldn't Tracy Turnblad have the 11 o'clock number? And we were like, well, what would be more Tracy Turnblad for her to say, this is the story of this Black family and Black civil rights, and what could be more her than to hand over the spot and say, enough with the white savior,
Right. And
teach
she
us.
has the last bit of "You Can't Stop the Beat."
Can't stop the beat, right? Yeah,
It really ends.
it's very odd. I'm sure if as a dramaturg, and it's very odd for a character who doesn't enter until the last 15 minutes of Act One, really becomes the moral center of the story.
A. Whitaker says, Big Dollhouse has been cut from both the film version and live television version of Hairspray. Does this piss you off? I love the number and wish it was included in both versions.
You understand why it's eliminated, because it's a timing thing. Movies are not as long as a Broadway musical, and nor is a television show with all the commercials that, had to be in it. It's, we understood that. It was tough when the decision was made to not use Mama, I'm a Big Girl Now in the movie. But then I had the idea, that for the end credits, we could get the 3 Tracys, to get Ricky Lake, Marissa, and Nikki, to make it a trio. And so that was a nice little silver lining.
Yeah, that was a great touch.
To support the class, visit my Patreon page. See the upcoming schedule at thebroadwaymaven.com.